So is Alphabet's rebound a good or bad sign for the rest of the AI trade? Are we seeing any kind of rotation here, do you think, Dan?
Definitely rotation. I mean, we've been mentioning this. A handful of the Mag 7 have underperformed not only their peers, but also the S&P 500. And, the thing about Alphabet is really interesting. There's a lot of moving parts there, right? And, for those folks, and Karen's going to obviously speak about her thesis that she's had for multiple years, is that, this thing has made considerable progress from a really bad rollout. I don't know if you guys recall Bard, and it was a joke. And one day we walked in and the stock was down like 6%, and everyone's like looking around. They're like, yeah, they're in Paris and they had this thing, and it was just a bad rollout. And this was coming right after the ChatGPT rollout. Well, obviously things have changed. There's been naysayers the whole way, but right now you have a situation where, yes, they've gotten tremendous reviews. You think about their distribution. They have 6 or 7 platforms with over 2 billion users, right? For them to kind of infuse this technology throughout all of them, that's great. They still have the issue of these overlays and AI mode. It might put a dent a little bit into that search revenue. I know that's been one pillar of the bear case, but when you talk about a stock that's moved this way in such a short period of time, there should be some sort of check back. And I don't mean just on price, but I also mean as far as sentiment is concerned. So I look at this thing, I see it trading at like 27 times forward, 28 times forward, and you have growth that's not really accelerating. Now, that's the good thing. If the numbers right now, consensus is just too low, then there's more room to run. I'm not so sure that's the case. I'm not so sure analysts are able to make that case right here, right now for 2026.
I mean, if you thought 28 or 29 was expensive for Alphabet, it's really closer to 30 with this run. I mean, that's how much it's gained in terms of the market, the forward PE.
Yeah, although when you say it's not going to grow, I mean, I think if you look at the numbers for Google Cloud, which admittedly much smaller, it's a fraction of the size of search, but that's growing. I mean, it's grown 50%.
Right, but their margins next year are supposed to check down 2%, right?
So those are still some really good margins.
Right, but they're going the wrong way. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not debating. I mean, the stock's been amazing. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, when you think about the growth that is expected, earnings and sales, I mean, the earnings growth is high single digits. You know what I mean? So you're going to need to see some sort of meaningful upgrade to earnings expectations, especially in a margin environment that's expected to kind of weaken a bit.
It's been an extraordinary run. It was not expected. I mean, we've had multiple conversations since July on this desk about suddenly their core search being dead. Then suddenly you have Gemini, multiple iterations getting better. You have this DOJ settlement that at least makes it clear that Google is whatever turf they've carved out is still theirs, and that's, as we know, good for multiple players. But I think you just get to this case where it was so oversold. It was so underappreciated. And the analyst community, which knew Gemini 3 updates were coming out here, suddenly seems to somehow have been caught behind. So I think it's interesting. I think for the markets overall, the fact that we have mega cap tech having been so poor outside of Google and Broadcom over the last 6 to 8 weeks is very good for the market going into year. And I think there are a lot of people that wanted to buy Amazon here. I think there are a lot of people that are looking at Microsoft and saying, let's do this. And by the way, after bouncing off the 100-day, the semiconductors or the stocks or whatever you're following, SMH, is up 9% from the intraday low on Friday, which just tells you you can't get too far away from this trade. And people that are trying to be overly tactical one way or the other, I think this was another missed opportunity.
So search, I mean, we talked about the fears are definitely overblown. Right. At the moment, we don't know exactly how it's going to evolve. But remember, though, so everybody's in this CapEx spend, and that's been the fear. The Google balance sheet of all of them is still net cash. This is not a drain on them at all. Now, could they fund it through debt? That's probably makes more sense for them to do that. But also talk about YouTube. I don't think YouTube, the sum of the parts valuation, I don't think is getting really enough play as it should. So there's YouTube, there's Waymo, other bets, which is a negative. I don't know how much to think of that. But the balance sheet with net cash still. And then we haven't seen yet anything close to what the monetization of AI could be for them. Right, we've probably seen it somewhat in search and how well search is done, but and I think Tim's right. It really was overdone. I mean, the remedy to the first part of the antitrust was much better than we thought. But all that having been said, I'm looking now to sell some upside calls because I think it's run so far, so fast.
Is it overvalued?
Is it overvalued? No, but I feel like it's a little ahead of itself, and the calls are, the skew is very much in favor of the calls, so I'm looking to sell some.